souls to Jesus by the service that I yield.
You know, there's a lot going on in the world today, a lot going on in our nation, and a lot of people have worked really hard to get through the previous year with all the strife and turmoil going on, with just all the stuff that's going on around us. And you know, a lot of people, particularly in the middle of winter when outdoor activities are quite limited, are often wondering if everything that they have tried to do to make things better for themselves and their family was actually worth the cost, because in some ways it doesn't seem like things are getting any better despite how hard we have worked to maintain a sense of a normal life. I'm reminded of a story we find in Matthew chapter 11 about John the Baptist. And we know some of the stories about John the Baptist, how he went about preaching and baptizing people, and how he himself actually baptized Christ. But in Matthew chapter 11, we read an account of when he'd been arrested and when he'd been cast into prison. And he's sitting there in that prison cell, and he realizes that he's going to die in that prison cell. He's never going to see freedom. He's never going to be able to fellowship with his friends and with his family again. And any person in that situation, any normal person, you or me, we would probably sit and contemplate whether all the things we did was worth the cost of being in that situation. Now, I don't know if John felt this way, but what we do know that we read about in Matthew chapter 11 is that at one point during his imprisonment, he sent some of his own disciples to talk to Jesus and to ask Jesus if he was indeed who he claimed to be. They did, and they went to Jesus, and we can read his response here in Matthew 11, beginning in verse 4, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. Jesus said, "Go and tell John the things which you hear and see. The blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. And blessed is he who is not offended because of me." The original King James renders that last sentence as, "Blessed is he who does not fall away because of me." There are a lot of things we do in our life that put us in situations we would rather not be in. And many times these are things that had to be done, needed to be done. And because of where it sometimes leads to, we begin to live in the world of what if. It's like if you're in a car accident and for several days you're living in this world of, if I just turned left instead of right, or if I'd applied the brakes a little sooner, or if I'd waited to do this or that. And it never really pans out, because the truth is there are some things that you will never know or understand this side of heaven. But there are some things that we can look at and we can see the big picture. And we can recognize the words of Christ, that when it comes to our relationship with God, our relationship with our families and with those around us, that yes, it is worth the cost.